A brilliant blue flash burst above the Pacific Ocean, illuminating the pre-dawn sky. Seconds later, communications arrays worldwide buzzed with activity. Satellites detected anomalous energy emanations, and one by one, instrumentation in every major space monitoring station flared with unstoppable signals. The incursion had begun, though no government official, no top-level strategist, no defense organization dared to believe it at first. Exotic craft of polished obsidian materialized in Earth's upper atmosphere, reflective shells gliding silently. Within minutes, those craft spread into a formation that encircled strategic sites across every continent. High above the chaos, aboard a satellite-turned observation station, Lieutenant Mia Alvarez stared at her console. Bluetooth earpiece partially hidden by short-cropped hair, she watched large, unknown shapes approach. Readouts blinked warnings in brilliant red, cryptic alien scripts marking out patterns on the satellite's newly hijacked data servers. Her station was under alien control. Nothing in human design could fight back electronically. In the seat next to her, Specialist Remy Jones banged the side of the console in frustration. The instrumentation was slipping away from them, stolen by an invasive intelligence. Down on Earth, crowds flooded the streets. Among them was Dr. Aria Bellevue, a researcher from the International Defense Academy. Supposedly, she had prepared for this day. Humanity had wargamed the notion of alien contact for decades, but no one truly believed an invasion would look quite like this. The alien ships hung in the sky, black silhouettes blocking out the sun. They were quiet, poised as if in silent contemplation of their monumental step. United Nations dispatches crackled across official frequencies, urging calm, urging communication. But there was little calm to be found. In major cities, some citizens panicked while others attempted to flee to the countryside. The alien craft extended tentacles of sharp, shining steel, projecting beams of greenish light that turned entire city blocks powerless. Lights went out, motor vehicles sputtered, communications network towers fell dormant. A widespread electromagnetic clamdown was in effect. Almost everywhere, technology was rendered useless. Military jets scrambled, but as soon as they neared these silent obsidian behemoths, their engines faltered and crashed. Missile systems locked on, but could not launch. The invaders didn't even bother to fire back. They merely jammed, disrupted, and negated the entire chain of modern warfare. Those who witnessed it, generals in command bunkers, soldiers in the field, and civilians at home, came to a single conclusion. The human race was outmatched. In the face of such unstoppable superiority, many states prepared for unconditional surrender. The alien vessels descended further, landing in neat geometric patterns across farmland, deserts, and half-destroyed airports. Towering craft opened wide. Rows of slender, tall figures marched out. Their armor glimmered with the same reflective sheen as their ships, shifting color with every footstep and forming a camouflage pattern that constantly adapted. They bore no visible weapons at first. Then, from beneath those plates, extended lethal, pulsing rods that crackled with white muzzle arcs of energy. Everywhere they marched, silence fell, and the world watched, transfixed and afraid. In a fortified sub-basement outside the city of Berlin, leading thinkers gathered around a massive table scattered with notes and maps. Dr. Bellevue stood among them, flanked by generals and high-ranking officials from multiple countries. Overhead lighting flickered on emergency generators. An older officer, epaulets sagging, hammered a fist onto the table. "We cannot strike them directly. Our technology is locked down. Satellites are offline. The jets are worthless. We have only enough backup power here to keep the lights running." Despair set in as they reeled through the rapidly diminishing list of defenses. Tanks had been short-circuited in their hangars. Automated missile platforms were offline. Even the bunkers themselves were vulnerable. The aliens had evidently studied Earth's capabilities well. It was a flawless infiltration and disruption plan, carried out without a single shot from Earthside. The invasion was unstoppable. Or, so so it seemed. That night, as the encircled planet tried to sleep, an unexpected volunteer group arrived in Berlin's underground war room. They were not a formal military unit, nor were they part of any official intelligence service. They comprised game designers, puzzle creators, improvisational theater teachers, medalists, and hackers who specialized in older, outdated forms of code. Quirkily dressed, these experts spoke of unpredictability. The aliens have studied our advanced networks and modern technology. They have jammed everything. That's how they dominate, said Sana Gray, an unassuming game developer known for her labyrinthine puzzle boxes. But maybe they don't understand our old ways. They are tactics that don't rely on the systems they can shut down. General Roy Iwasaki raised a suspicious eyebrow. He had fought in 2 major conflicts and believed in conventional warfare. The situation, though, overruled his skepticism. "Whatever plan you all have, it better be good," he said. The innovators outlined a scheme. First, they suggested using centuries-old code forms that predated modern digital encryption, including literary design techniques, analog ciphers, and ephemeral hand signals. Next, they proposed unconventional tactics relying on spontaneity, which the game designers believed would be elusive to any computerized predictive model. "We can't meet them head-on," Sana continued, "but we can sabotage, distract, and confuse them. A misdirection campaign, while we gather our own stealth infiltration teams with good old mechanical gear." Though unorthodox, the plan kindled hope in the war room. They distributed instructions in writing, using physically carried notes. No transmissions. The plan was to destroy or capture the alien ships from within, if humans could get on board, using non-electronic infiltration. So blacksmiths, machinists, and archaic armor crafters were recruited. They adapted old firearms, retooled them with mechanical breech machining and flintlock designs. Though archaic, these weapons would not rely on electromagnetic mechanisms to function, even if the aliens jammed modern gunpowder ignition or microchips. A well-prepared line of flintlock riflemen could still fire. It sounded absurd, but it was worth a try. As the volunteer brigades convened in hidden enclaves, the aliens pressed forward with chilling efficiency. Their long-limbed troopers identified pockets of Earth's remaining power sources, forcibly disintegrating any satellite link or data center that still sputtered to life. In major cities, they began systematic rounding up of civilians, corralling them into secure zones. It wasn't clear what the aliens intended beyond subjugation, but some rumored that humanity was to be used as slave labor, or worse, subject to genetic experimentation. Despite the rumors, Dr. Bellevue and Sana Gray pressed on. They led teams across abandoned farmland and silent highways, traveling on bicycles and horseback to avoid detection from the energy-scanning drones that patrolled overhead. Having discovered that the aliens rarely looked for such low-tech movements, they made surprisingly good time. Along quiet riverbanks, small workshops glowed with lantern light. Blacksmiths hammered out blade and gear assemblies. Weapon enthusiasts tested old muzzle-mounting cannons, repurposed with cunning modifications. Then came infiltration. Under a moonlit sky, groups of men and women crept up to an alien landing site in the farmland outside Lyon. The vessel towered above them, a menacing spire of black glass. There were only 2 visible entrances, each guarded by at least a dozen alien troopers. The infiltration team carried newly minted mechanical crossbows, swords, and their hearts pounding with adrenaline. Using stealth, they laid out decoys. They tied large blankets to barn doors, shaping silhouettes that might look like armed figures. Then they manipulated old-fashioned firecrackers. When lit, they created biting bursts to draw the invaders away from the real infiltration point. The aliens investigated swiftly, but they did so in an organized, predictable pattern. They didn't anticipate the trick behind them. Quietly, a small team squeezed through a service hatch. Inside, they discovered a labyrinth of corridors, walls pulsing with eerie green luminescence. Strange glyphs flickered across surfaces, presumably part of the technology that jammed Earth's electronics. One by one, they advanced, guided by a mixture of guesswork, logic, and sense of smell. Any advanced tools for scanning would be unreliable. Eventually, jolts of white arcs crackled in the distance, indicating the presence of alien weapon rods. Pressing deeper, they spied a central hub containing power modules. The modules were shaped like discs, each one humming with forced resonance. These modules, if destroyed, might disable the entire jamming network of the ship, effectively giving back some measure of control to local forces. The infiltration team prepared small, manually triggered explosives. Just as they planted them, an alien patrol spotted their presence. Alarms rang out in piercing ultrasonic tones that made the infiltrators' teeth chatter. The alien troopers closed in, rods raised, ready to discharge lethal arcs. So the infiltration team split up, leaving behind illusions and decoys, cardboard cutouts draped in reflective foil. Illusions that the aliens wasted precious seconds firing upon. The lead saboteur jammed a wedge under a corridor hatch, slowing the alien advance just enough to manually press the plunger. A thunderous explosion rocked the vessel from within, knocking the troopers off balance. Green lights sputtered, then died. The subsectums failed, and the entire ship's jamming apparatus broke down in a shower of sparks. Moments later, the infiltration team, battered but alive, stumbled out of the ship. They had just executed humanity's first successful blow. Across the globe, other cells enacted similar infiltration attempts, using everything from Trojan horse techniques, raiding squads hidden in the back of old trucks, to improvised catapults flinging magnetized netting onto hulls. The surprise factor and sheer unpredictability of these archaic sabotage operations caught the alien forces entirely off guard. Their strategic models apparently never contemplated such unorthodox methods. In one of the largest operations, a contingent of cavalry from Eastern Europe and horse archers from Central Asia rode forth under cover of darkness to raid a grounded alien transport. They fired flaming arrows dipped in homemade napalm, lodging them in the craft's retracted landing gear. The alien troopers responded with frantic attempts to harness advanced weaponry, but their systems were compromised from sabotage in the other compartments. Great plumes of flame erupted around the craft, forcing the invaders back. The horse archers, in swirling formation, let loose volley after volley, each arrow guided by centuries-old skill. The advanced high-tech aliens found themselves dealing with foes who defied every protocol and plan. They had not anticipated being overrun by cavalry and ancient tactics. Word of these successes spread through handwritten messages delivered by runners who dealt only in face-to-face confirmation. Radio waves were still jammed in most areas, but once a local ship's jamming node fell, conventional armies swiftly pushed an advantage. Tank platoons suddenly roared back to life in a few liberated zones. Even so, the battle remained precarious. When one alien mothership in Asia realized it had lost local jamming coverage, it responded by deploying a terrifying new weapon, a wave of pure gravitational flux. Entire buildings collapsed under the twisting force. Many lives were lost in that sudden retaliation. The aliens still possessed devastating potential. Humanity's only real edge lay in continuing to outmaneuver them with cunning, archaic subterfuge. Amid these dangers, a far grander scheme emerged. Dr. Bellevue, Sun Gray, and their circle of strategists realized the central problem. The entire invasion was being coordinated from an orbital command platform. If Earth could somehow infiltrate that platform, sabotage the nerve center of the alien operation, humanity might break their organizational backbone. Without that, the alien ground forces wouldn't have the advantage of coordinated jamming or real-time strategic updates, but solutions for reaching orbit were nearly non-existent. Every rocket facility had been disabled or destroyed. Satellite networks had been commandeered. The aliens had designed their entire invasion to prevent humans from taking to the skies. However, the improbable soared once more. An old cosmonaut, Viktor Ilyich, recalled a derelict launch site in Siberia containing a mothballed decades-old rocket system that used mostly analog control. That rocket might be Earth's last chance to reach orbit. The aliens had likely dismissed it as outdated junk. If a small crew could get it operational again, they might slip through the defenses and attempt one last infiltration mission to that orbital platform. Under punishing snowdrifts and sub-zero temperatures, Dr. Bellevue, Victor Ilyich, and a small engineering squad toiled to revive the rocket. They replaced all compromised digital modules with mechanical gauge readouts, old vacuum tubes, and analog flight computers. The rocket's structural integrity had to be tested thoroughly, since it had not been used in over 3 decades. But time was short. Each day, more nations fell under alien control, their major strongholds neutralized. Generals in Berlin and Tokyo sent pleas for immediate relief, but everyone knew that the real solution lay above Earth. At last, the ancient rocket was fueled. The sub-zero cold actually helped keep some temperature-sensitive components stable. The crew of 3 prepared to board: Victor, Dr. Bellevue, and an ex-astronaut from NASA named Jada Salazar. Snow howled around the concrete pad. Through binoculars, watchers spotted a line of alien drones patrolling overhead, scanning presumably for any sign of a modern launch. But the watchers stayed hidden, and the rocket's metal shell had been coated in camouflage paint. A thick layer of robotic jamming fields blanketed the sky. Yet hopefully the rocket's profile remained so low-tech it might pass under the advanced network's radar. They launched at dawn. The rocket, sputtering and shaking, rose from its pad. For interminable seconds it seemed it might fail, yet it clawed the air, soared above the clouds, carrying the improbable hopes of an entire planet. Immediately, alien sensors likely detected something, but it was a puzzle. This was a type of technology they had not studied closely because it was so old. Could it truly be a threat? Accelerating through the thinning atmosphere, Victor and Jada manipulated mechanical levers to keep the rocket stable. Dr. Bellevue scanned readouts on analog dials, attempting to guess how soon they would spot the black orbital fortress. She had pored over stolen data gleaned from crashed alien craft. That data indicated the fortress was geostationary above a certain swath of Earth's surface. As they approached orbit, the distant shape indeed became visible. A massive ring of obsidian slats with a central sphere. Tendrils of energy roiled around it, like an artificial aurora. Even as they approached, the rocket trembled in a fresh wave of jamming. Lights in the cramped cabin flashed erratically. The mechanical systems whined, but they did not fail. Victor whooped at their success. The fortress bristled with turrets that spat pulses of white light. By all odds, the rocket should have been shot down instantly. But evidently the aliens couldn't get a fix on precisely how to target such an antiquated craft. Their advanced guidance systems expected signals or automatic transponders that simply weren't present. When the rocket could go no higher, they activated a final thruster to match velocity with the fortress. The craft's hull rattled violently. Jada donned her space harness and depressurized the cabin. She carefully ejected from the rocket and used a small mechanical thruster pack to spare fuel. Dr. Bellevue and Victor followed, drifting in the cosmic void. The fortress loomed, impossibly large, its black hull reflecting starlight. Reaching the structure, they found a maintenance hatch sealed but not impervious. With cold, numb fingers, Jada worked a manual torque device that specialized infiltration engineers had prepared on Earth. After several tense minutes, the hatch yielded. They slipped inside. Low gravity and a ghostly hush greeted them. Their suits carried enough oxygen for perhaps an hour. They had to be quick. Inside, the architecture was reminiscent of the smaller grounded ships, but on a colossal scale. Corridors curved in graceful arcs, each surface inscribed with shimmering alien runes. One by one, the team floated deeper, searching for the command center. At intervals, they saw patrolling alien guards, each wearing jet-black vacuum suits and carrying those sizzling rods. Hiding behind structural supports and using grappling lines to navigate, The humans inched closer to what had to be the fortress's nerve center. Finally, they found it. A vast chamber ringed by large crystals that hummed in synchronous pulses. In the center hovered a holographic display of Earth and the positions of every alien battalion on the planet. Computerized voices warbled in the distance. With no time to lose, Dr. Bellevue approached the crystals. She had read enough of the stolen alien data to guess that destroying them might sever the entire chain of command. Victor readied a small-shaped charge. Alarms sounded. An entire unit of alien troopers burst into the chamber, their rods crackling in the microgravity. Jada and Victor scrambled for cover. Bolts of sizzling energy scorched the walls. Stray arcs clipped Jada's flank, sending her spinning. But she managed to cling to a panel edge, pulling herself behind a projection dais. Dr. Bellevue refused to retreat. She primed the shape charge, latched it onto the largest crystal, and hammered a manual trigger. At that instant, an alien trooper lunged, weapon pointed. Victor yanked Dr. Bellevue away, just as a burst of deadly current crackled through the air. She reeled, but had enough sense left to pull the trigger. A searing orange flash tore across the command center. The crystals exploded in a shower of molten shards, and the central console went dark. Fortress lights flickered and died. The entire structure trembled as if torn by an earthquake. Emergency luminescence stuttered to life, dim and faltering. With the command network severed, the alien fortress was effectively blind, cut off from its own systems. Meanwhile, on Earth, every trooper lost real-time updates. The jamming fields that had crippled humanity started sputtering out. In the aftermath, Jada, Victor, and Dr. Bellevue scrambled to find any means of escape. The alien troopers seemed disoriented without the fortress's command signals. Some tried to regroup, some unwittingly drifted into zero-gravity corridors. Smoke and metal fragments drifted in hazy clouds. Vital pathways were cut. The small team discovered an alien escape craft locked down in a docking bay. Using their infiltration tools, they cracked the hatch. Inside, the systems were partially functional, still advanced, but working on local controls. They strapped in, improvised their way through the console, and launched away from the dying fortress. Far below on Earth's surface, humans cheered as their machines roared back to life. In one city after another, people took to the streets, waving flags or brandishing archaic weapons. Military jets soared again. Bombers took flight. Tanks rolled into strategic positions. With the invaders confused and disconnected, an all-out counterattack began. Freed from jamming, Earth's armies could now coordinate. They forced the alien ground troops into retreat. Some ships attempted to lift off and flee the planet, but were shot down by revived missile defenses. Others were boarded by infiltration teams, their cunning sabotage unstoppable. For the first time, Earth had the upper hand. Gradually, the invasion crumbled. Isolated alien commanders, cut off from the sophisticated predictions and jamming signals, found themselves at the mercy of human cunning. Pilots who had trained their entire lives to rely on unstoppable technology fell victim to old-fashioned flanking maneuvers and feints. Human unpredictability ran rampant. The invaders who had come so confidently soon discovered that a species with creativity, determination, and a penchant for the unexpected could not be so easily conquered. In the days that followed, battered but jubilant, humanity rose from the ashes. Major cities would need extensive rebuilding. Countless transmissions poured in from around the globe, sharing relief efforts, medical assistance, and records of heroic deeds. Though the war was not entirely bloodless, it ended with far fewer casualties than some had feared. Many of the alien crafts remained behind, disabled or captured. Scientists were eager to study them, to glean new technologies that might prevent another invasion. In an improvised landing strip in Kazakhstan, Dr. Bellevue, Victor, and Jada finally touched down in the commandeered alien shuttles. They stepped out to the roar of applause from soldiers and civilians who had gathered, some on foot, some on horseback, to witness their return. Exhausted, their suits scorched and frayed, they placed their boots on Earth's soil, feeling for the first time the gravity that had been too long absent. Sanagray sprinted forward with tears in her eyes and embraced them all. Global leaders soon assembled for a formal statement. They stood on a makeshift platform in the bombed-out square of what used to be a grand metropolitan hub. Cameras, newly repaired, broadcast the event. Humanity's defiance had turned an unbeatable foe into a retreating memory. Dr. Bellevue gave a short address, saying, "We have proven that our greatest strength lies not in the sophistication of our inventions, but in our creativity and our ability to adapt. We must look to the future, to rebuild, and to prepare cooperating as one species against all who would threaten us." Cheers resonated across nations. On that day, every barrier between people seemed smaller. Linguistic and cultural differences faded before the knowledge that together they had done the impossible. The extraterrestrial threat, so sure of its power, had underestimated the indomitable will and spontaneous brilliance of humankind. At dusk, silhouettes of charred alien hulls lined the horizon. Emerging from hastily repaired shelters, families gazed upward at the now empty sky. The invaders had come with advanced jamming, unstoppable weapons, and brilliant tactics. Yet they had fallen to the unpredictability of an enemy that refused to play by the rules. Earth still stood, battered but unbroken, newly aware of how precious and fragile peace could be.